T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Shake and bake. Woo. Welcome back, everyone.
This is your favorite crackhead, Hunter, this is the peace dealer.
I was just gonna say, after I saw you smoke that vape like that, I'm like waiting for you to have like a dance off in like a Smith's parking lot with me or something.
I just need a laptop and some hookers.
And brought to you by Pfizer and the American public, the White House, whatever, the Democrats, whatever. I give up.
All in the name of health and science! Thank God for y'all.
Can you guys tell it's about to be Sagittarius season? Or like I like to refer to this season as Sagittarius season.
And the return of Andrew Tate. You thought y'all got rid of him.
Oh my God. The more that I like want to hate him, the more, I hate to say this, but some of the stuff I watch and I'm like, Some of the stuff,
because he's still Sag. He's still gonna say some shit that's like, whoa.
Isn't he like a sun and moon?
Oh shit.
Isn't he like a sun and moon?
Sun, Saturn, Uranus, Sag, Moon, Gemini.
So he's the 86 Sag?
He's 86 Sag. Yeah. 80, if not 87, 86.
Love you guys, but 86 and 87 are fucking nuts. Those Sagittarians. Because you got Saturn, Uranus, Sun, and Sag.
So let's explain how that looked like for Andrew Tate. Because everyone who has that is similar, but he had the Sun there, right? So what do we know about Saturn? It's a system. What do we know about Uranus? It's innovative. It's revolutionary. He instilled a revolutionary system collectively with Sag that had everyone who was a part of his system flood social media with his clips. He showed us what Saturn, Uranus, and Sag look like. And I don't care about what he thinks or says as much as how he did what he did.
He did a lot for culture.
Yeah.
You know, culture.
Like, I'm not co-signing.
Like dating or
and like, you know,
masculinity.
A lot of the manosphere stuff. And I feel like, you know, he took advantage of that to say what was hot. But I think it's amazing how a lot of supervillains have been coming up over the past 2 years.
I watched one of his like 3 hour like talks that he had. And there was like 5 other guys all sitting around him and they're all...
Was it the Fresh and Fit podcast?
Maybe. They're all sitting around talking, like smoking cigars and drinking and like all of these men look like boys that like are still jerking off in their mom's basement, which is hilarious because they're like, yeah, fucking get bitches. And I'm like, this guy looks like he's 17 years old. Like you still have facial acne. Like get out of here. And they're all just like sucking his dick, which is hilarious.
That's always funny.
It's hilarious.
He's the top G. So
you can tell. Like that's like one of like the primary things of like cult leaders is like you have to find people that are like a little bit beneath you, but they're gonna worship you. And like of course he's gonna get a bunch of like young guys that are like make money, fuck bitches, whatever. It's interesting just to hear his like perspective on things, and obviously like Sag energy, especially like Sun Sag, Mercury Sag. Very Jupiterian. It's like, let me show you my ways.
It's a lot of parallels to Trump because they both have the opposite sun and moon. And I care less about what they say, but how they're saying it, how they're triggering people, and what catalyst that makes. So I think we're going to see everyone who's been canceled over the past 2 years come back on platforms like Parler, Truth, their own stuff.
I want to see Project Veritas come back.
I don't think they ever left, but they're definitely going to be back in resurgence.
No, they're not back on Twitter.
Oh, they got kicked off Twitter.
Yeah, they're not back on Twitter.
I didn't know
He's waiting to come back on Twitter.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Shout out to Project Veritas. Those are revolutionaries.
I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting season for sure.
Imagine you go out with someone and they're a Project Veritas spy. You're not Project Veritas, like.
But that's what they say in all the interviews now. Like, are you Project Veritas? Like, and then the girl's like, what's that? And then she like readjusts her tits and leans forward. And like, tell me more. Like, you've got hot journalists undercover out there eating pasta with like some of like the worst fucking people in the media. I mean, I love Project Veritas. I'm a huge fan. I think it's
This is like a real life skit.
The fact that like Sag season is starting with a South Node moon conjunction in Scorpio. As a Scorpio sun myself, I feel the need to say like we're gonna there's gonna be a punch, like there's a Scorpion's kiss like right before you get into Sagittarius season because balsamic moon phase, moon reactivating the most recent eclipse, moon conjuncting the south node, and then just after the sun's ingress, we're going to see like moon square Saturn, oppose Uranus, and then it's going to come into Sagittarius and we'll have a new moon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, you hear a lot of like astro beef, like, you know, like right before the season. Like I noticed this like during like Virgo season, Libras were like, yeah, and then, you know, Libra season and Scorpios are like, yeah, we're waiting for our time. And like Scorpio season just started, like as we're filming this, and there's already so many Sagittarius people that won't shut the fuck up.
Yes, I've been seeing that.
They won't shut the fuck up.
They call Scorpio season preparation for Sag. Like as soon as it started, I was like, y'all are
Because it's 12
on it.
house to Sag, so that's when you guys get super messy and you get like turned up. P.S.
Yes.
I'm a real fucking like MVP right now because as this is coming out, it's my birthday week. It's my entire birthday week.
Yeah.
So even though it's my birthday right now, as you're watching this, we're going to talk about Sag season. So that's just showing you how Scorpios are making sacrifices prior to, you know, your guys' season.
Yeah.
All right, I had to have that shameless plug. So South Node Moon conjunction, square Saturn, opposed Uranus, it's like shit's popping off. Just like a preview, Sag. Throughout this Sag season, you are going to get assaulted with oppositions from Mars.
Oh yeah.
So for Sag Sun rising, Sag Moons, like you're going to be having some fierce oppositions with the Mars opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a whole slew of squares that you will be having both to Jupiter and Neptune.
The way to see that, and I love that I think that most significant you brought up right now is the slew of opposition. New moon in Gemini, we had the new idea updated with the square, and this helped you move forward with a new attitude. Think about everything you thought 6 months ago when we were in Gemini, and then Virgo season came through, and this was a new lifestyle, behavioral change to bring those ideas into reality. So when you come up with these ideas in Gemini, it's like you're in your room. You're like, this is what I think. I think this sucks. I think this is bad. When you're in Sagittarius, you're on the podium in front of people saying what you think. So how does that change? Do you still have the same attitude when you're in front of other people who are gonna like oppose your thoughts? Or are you gonna be Sag? Or are you gonna be Andrew Tate and be like, bitch, you're older than 25. I'm not even
What's wrong with dating an older woman?
Well,
you're gonna get fed and you're gonna do the walk of shame with a fucking country crock container full of like mashed potatoes on your way home. I mean, as somebody who's a Taurus rising, I'm sure you appreciate that.
I mean, some people like older women. I with the Cat Moon, like I appreciate more maturity.
It takes a little bit longer to warm the car up.
But that's the thing. It's the Earth. The reason why Earth likes older women is because they can take it slow. A lot of these people who say they want younger are more like fire dominance, water, or they have youthful energy. And
well, they want people who are gonna be young, dumb, and stupid.
In fact,
probably.
I would say even older Capricorns would look at a younger person, but there's the real reason why men want younger women, and I'm not gonna say that on this.
Because they're better looking, is what you're trying to say?
No, because there's some older women that look young, you know what I'm saying? But
because older women don't put up with your shit.
That part.
That's part of it.
And
they have a better credit score, generally. No offense or anything.
His reasoning was because women after 25 have gone through so much bullshit with men that you're not getting them when they haven't gone through, which is really cool.
Yeah, but he also talks about like having women when they're 17 to 23, when they're more vulnerable and programmable,
basically,
and they're more submissive.
Well, those men want to groom those women. So that's the thing. That's why I didn't want to say that.
Why can't women groom men? I feel like older women do groom men.
Women groom men and men groom women. Like this is a thing.
I feel like older women like to groom men. Like I could understand being 40 and being like, I'm gonna teach this young whippersnappers.
But see, that's the thing. A man grooms a young woman, he's gonna get in trouble for that. A older woman grooms a young man, that man is gonna be like, yes, groom me.
Well, you call it grooming.
Groom me.
Older women are not grooming younger men.
That's
They're just teaching you guys where the clit is. Y'all can't find it. We could draw you a map, but you're not gonna find it.
Where is this? What the fuck? All right, that's an important distinction. I stand corrected. Yeah.
It's true, and they're gonna have more patience as well.
But you know, these things haven't been addressed the way they have, and that's why it's really controversial. It's not even that these things that are being said are controversial; it's that they haven't been addressed like the way they are. So it's just catching people off guard. But yeah, I think I saw that one meme about the supervillain Geminis with Jordan Peterson, Kanye, and Trump.
I love Jordan Peterson, and I mean I know some people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think some people will be like, oh, how could you say that? But
I actually don't know about him. I don't know why he has controversy around him.
you need to listen to some of his. I mean, he has said some scandalous things. I'm not saying I agree with all of his perspectives.
That's why I love Gemini. We're known for what we say.
But what I do like is the fact that he's very matter of fact, and he's very much like, grow the fuck up, get up, make your bed, be honorable, stop watching porn, like invest in yourself, like fuck everybody else. And it's just common sense things. Okay, so he said some stuff about, what was it? Ellen, but now she identifies as a man, whatever. Because he's
Ellen Page?
Elliot Page.
Oh,
so
okay.
he's very against some of that stuff. I guess he got kicked off of like Twitter or like an online platform. But I mean, I heard him on Russell Brand, and Russell Brand kind of wrestled with him a little bit.
Another Gemini.
Talking about some stuff. But I mean, I think for the most part, he's very, he's conservative. You know, to me, he seems very like North Node and Taurus, which I think is very radical in this day and age to be considered conservative.
And I respect that two Geminis, one liberal and one conservative, can come together not agreeing but still have an honest conversation. That's why I love Russell Brand.
You have to see that interview. I'll send it to you, because he basically was like, did you really have to go there? Because he was trying to shut down like gender reassignment surgery and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, listen, Sagittarius energy, and I love that it coincides with Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And like preparation for holidays, because you have like a mix of people, right? At least here in the United States. You know, for me, it's like we have the holidays, we have Christmas or New Year's or even Thanksgiving. Like, I'm always like inviting other people, being like, yeah, just like come, like just show up. So there's always like a diverse group of people who are all just kind of like, I don't know, like transplants that end up showing up. So you have different, ethnicities, you have different ages, you have people who have different like sexual preferences, whatever. They're in different like industries. And I like that melting pot. It's very Sagittarius.
I have a huge prediction. 8 days into Sagittarius season, you're going to hear Mariah Carey.
I saw this thing today that said, real normal people start listening to Christmas music at Thanksgiving, but like psychos start on November 1st.
Did you send me that video of her on the treadmill? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know she was an international treasure for real.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Shout out to Mariah Carey.
I mean, I'm super excited. I mean, she makes so much fucking money off of her music every year, which is like such boss moves.
Aries.
But that's what Sagittarius season is all about. It's about differences in culture and what we learn from one another, and like storytelling and like going places and having an experience and being able to come together even if we have like different backgrounds. Okay, so Sag season kicks off on November 22nd, right out the gate. South Node moon, kind of moody for the first couple days. I'm really eyeballing Mercury and Venus in conjunction in Sagittarius.
7 degrees.
What do you think about that?
That, because it's after the sun. So we've had the Cazimi in Scorpio. We've come into this pure realization of what direction we're getting ready to head into. And now this post-sun conjunction is like an ace of wands to me that will...
Ace of rods?
Ace of rods, and not the dick pic ace of rods, but more so like... just like a wild card. Like it's something new, but Sagittarius has that wild card element. And of course we got the square to Pisces. So no one's going to be really clear about what's happening. Mutable placements without Virgo.
It's like there's no adult in the room.
And
everybody's
no
just throwing food at one another and like being scandalous.
It's like, I think that men and women have a unicorn inside them and we can all sprout wings and fly. Don't you want to elevate higher? And it's like, it sounds inspirational, it's wholesome, but it's not based on reality. It's just fucking delusional. So it's like, be careful what sounds right, but it's a lot of idiomatic languaging that with pathos will really impact people's feelings, but it's not true. It just sounds right. But this is also going to help push forward a more radical personification of, I think by this point, because this really is a completion of what we did in Gemini, just like Pisces completes Virgo, I think this is where we're going to have ridiculous disclosure. I think if anything was suppressed in Gemini, it's being revealed. So we could find out what happened 6 months ago. Like,
But it's
past information.
challenged, though, because you're going to have oppositions to Mars, which is retrograde.
Yeah.
You're going to have, Mercury and its detriment in Sag.
Plausible deniability.
You're going to have squares to Neptune, where even though the truth comes out, it may very well be dismissed.
Exactly.
Or kind of
and this happened 2020, this happened 2021 with actual evidence. And that's why there's no Virgo. It's like you can just deflect it and be like...
And there's also no trines to Jupiter. I mean, it's an out-of-sign trine, but fire signs are about action, like life, like things taking place, like passion. And like we see with Sagittarius, like this is very much about the justice system. This is about laws, rights, legislation, travel, right? Foreigners, things in regards to the world, like culture or religion in general. So I don't know. I mean, I think that
without a strong foundation, you're just going to be everywhere. And so the dangerous thing about Sagittarius transits and energy when there's no Leo is there's no foundation. It's going to be all over the place. And things can look right and still not be right. You can see images on... I mean, have you seen that one video, or have you seen, videos where recently now audio can be completely digitally manipulated? So like you can hear that I can play an audio that you said, I like to kill Chinese babies, and it's in your voice, but you didn't say it. And so it's like, if that got leaked, by the time people believe you, what damage is it done?
Especially with Mercury being in Sag, I mean, that can be, with the squares to Neptune and Jupiter, like manipulation of things that we're either hearing or things that were said or things that were filmed. Like, Sagittarius is looking for the truth. And I think that maybe like the Sun and Venus mean well here. But the deeper that we get into Sag season, the more we come into oppositions with Mars, where it's very combative. Like, we're dealing with the lower mind and the higher mind. So you're also going to see like lots of like people arguing about, what is the bigger picture? Well, what's the smaller picture? How does it affect me? And you're going to hear like lots of conflict about local elections, conflict also about data and information, and where it's like conflicting with what we're seeing in other countries.
Yeah.
Interesting to see this at the beginning of November, that there's more and more information coming out about like health and numbers relating to the pandemic, and like how clearly there's something that's very off, because you've got some countries that aren't saying anything, and then you've got other countries putting out information, and it's very different and almost skewed from what we've seen in recent years.
Yeah.
So we have a new moon on the 24th. Very beginning of Sag. It'll be 2 degrees of Sagittarius. Maybe even 1, actually, looking at this. Might be 1. Let's look. Maybe it is 1, which is really wild. Yeah, it'll be 1. So 1 degrees of Sagittarius, we have a new moon. And this is going to be with the Sun and Moon conjunct. And then we've also got Venus and Mercury. So that'll be interesting to see like the new moon happen, and then the moon is going to conjunct Venus, which I think is nice. Like the moon in Sag is more optimistic. It's ruled by Jupiter. And then it's going to come in conjunction with Mercury. So off the bat, do we hear at the end of November more potential optimistic news in regards to health, relationships, the legal system, traveling? But does that news start to kind of have holes in it, and does that perspective seem to kind of fall apart as we start coming into the mutable squares?
In fact, I think what you just kind of inspired me to think is we might even see something completely new that we're not talking about now. And this is the period of the return where you mentioned that we are going to probably go through a new conflict or the next big thing. So yeah, I think it's very pivotal to look at. The reason why I like Sagittarius season, the most important part of Sagittarius season is the buildup of the square of Jupiter.
As a Gemini, you're ready for it? You're ready for the open opposition?
Honestly, I think I've been prepared for it my whole life. It's I think I'll be good, but because I got my moon in Capricorn. But personally, I've been going off. I didn't realize, because Mars is in my sign, like I've just been like more aggressive and assertive with how I used to hold back and feel bad about like going in on people. Now it's just like, bitch. Suck my, you know what I'm saying? Like, like I don't care anymore. So like I want the smoke. Cause Mars, the God of War is on my side. I want the smoke. Like I'm looking for
welcome to my
somebody.
life all the time.
Yo, straight
I find
up.
myself rolling around parking lots being like, I wish a motherfucker would. I wish a motherfucker would.
And I got the
No, but I got
yes.
Sun and Mars in the same sign, so.
Now I'm like
You know?
contemplating like maybe, like I'm not even afraid of death in a certain aspect. It's like, hey, maybe I might be immortal, or if I die, I die. It is what it is. It's crazy.
That's how I feel every day I watch the news. When they're like, this is going on, nuclear this, nuclear that. I'm like, if I die, I die. Live life on the edge.
Straight up.
Okay, so new moon in Sag. Technically in a trine to Jupiter.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's positive because
Mathematically.
it's about 2 degrees.
Yeah. I feel like a trine like that, the effects are there, you just won't see it.
Well, because Jupiter's in Pisces, so
Right.
it's more emotional, but it's more optimistic, positive. But there can be like this toxic positivity that's like, everything's working out, everything's fine, it's gonna be like this, and then...
Or you see something good and you exaggerate how good it is.
Yeah, which is really easy to do with Mercury and Sag. But here's something else I want to say. I get the impression with just the aspects, okay, oppositions to Mars, confrontational. Squares to Jupiter and Neptune, extremely confusing, and you're going to see lots of like moral debates. Then you've also got inconjuncts happening to the North Node and Uranus.
Yeah.
So that's technically happening 6 signs away from Sag, so it's delays and breakdown and health stuff. The only positive aspect happening during Sag season, for the most part, because you're going to lose the trines to Jupiter real quick, is basically going to be the sextiles to Saturn, which isn't really friendly with Sagittarius. Like, it's a sextile. Yeah, it's a sextile, but Saturn is opposite energy to Sag.
Okay.
So you're going to see that we're going to start seeing the glimmers of Aquarius season next year, where we're going to realize, like, these limitations are real. Like, it's reeling us in, or it's grounding us, or it's like throwing over an anchor.
So like announcement versus implementation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like, hey, this is what it's looking like. And then Capricorn season, we do it.
But then there's like a lot of candy coating it. Like, we're going to have to make cutbacks, but it's not going to be that bad. Don't worry. And then you're going to get to like February, March of next year and be like, why the fuck am I eating crickets?
It is that bad. Like, yeah.
So, okay, so there's that. I mean,
That's
sextiles
wild.
are good. Okay, Sun, sextile, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, that's positive. But Saturn in Aquarius doesn't give a fuck about its tone. It's going to be like, yeah, things are going to be rough. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think Sag is like, we're going to do this, but it won't be that bad. And everybody else is doing it, so don't worry, because we're all in this together. Like, what the fuck?
Yep.
So then...
But see, here's the thing. I think that Mars opposite here now is individual voices actually pushing back. And you mentioned this before. I think in the last video we did, where we're starting to see more resistance to these mandates.
We're seeing resistance, but we're seeing people asking questions.
Asking questions,
Being like, wait, why is this happening? Like, why did this take place? Like, you know, they're questioning things. I think the heat turns up a little bit at the end of November.
Especially from voices who weren't anti-vax or, if anything, pro-vax. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who are genuinely wondering why the numbers are not matching what they've been told. Like a Shannon Osborne who wants her money back from BLM. You know, that is just like a crack in the dam, because by the time Jupiter leaves Pisces, the dam is broken. And
this is also interesting to look at it from like the in conjunction point of view, because when you get to the end of November, you know, the Sun, Venus, Mercury has all been in conjunct the North Node and Uranus. That's technically, what, like I said, 6 houses away? So it's talking about like delays and breakdown in the Taurus realm of finances, banking, food, resources, like things like that. What do you think about those oppositions to Mars? Because you've got the North Node ruler in Sagittarius, conjunct Mercury, so we're talking about growth and expansion and life and all of these things, but then you've got it coming into opposition with the South Node ruler. So what do you make of those oppositions to 19 degrees? Oh, P.S. also, that was an eclipse, June of 2021. We had a solar eclipse in Gemini. So anytime something hits 19 degrees, it's reactivating that eclipse.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the reactivation with Mercury and Venus in opposition to it.
So what I was going to say about that was something related to information being revisited And that back at that point, certain facts revealed didn't hit, but they're going to hit harder than ever. I think in order to appreciate the Mars opposition, we have to take into account that since May to November, the eclipse in Taurus has been building up. We sowed the seeds in May. They broke through the ground in Leo, and now we're harvesting them in Scorpio. So Sagittarius's quincunx to Taurus is a closing quincunx, which transforms it. Sagittarius is going to show us the transformation of the effects of the market, of what we did individually. And this is where we're going to see this major change that has been happening for 6 months. And because it's transforming it, this is going to change completely. Like Taurus is the solidity. The Sagittarius 8th house aspect is going to transform that. And this could either bring major crashes or boosts. But I think because of that fluctuating nature with the mutable signs, now in light of that quincunx, the Mars opposition is, remember, Mars is individual in Gemini and Mercury is collective in Sagittarius. So Mercury in Sagittarius is this processing of bigger picture, global events and experiences, philosophical meanings, where with the Sag persuasive energy, if Sagittarius is the meaning of a word in a dictionary, you're having with this opposition, people argue with what the meaning of what certain findings are. Because we're going to have certain things revealed and there are going to be arguments with, no, this means that. No, this is this. No, this means that.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
I think there's also going to be like university studies. There's going to be a lot of debate about religion and belief systems.
Yeah,
and I think there's also... It's weird. I mean, to see Mercury oppose Mars, it's confrontational, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're seeing Mercury traditionally rules Gemini and it's in opposition to Mars. Like, lots of conflicting energy. Venus opposed Mars, I don't mind so much because it can create good friction. But by the time the Sun is coming into an opposition...
A lot of those debates in the manosphere against like women and men will come at a head here too.
Yeah, because like, look, then Venus and Mercury is going to start coming into a square with Neptune. So it might be like right when something starts to come out that's like, wait a second, we should be looking at this. It's going to be like smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Like, don't look at this,
like
look at that.
That sounds like a false flag, or that sounds like some kind of psyop. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. That's been happening predictably.
For sure, but just having like the oppositions to Mercury and Mars, for me, that seems like the end of November. There's going to be some really interesting Thanksgiving conversations. I'll just say
Absolutely.
that.
And one thing that you mentioned that I think is more significant than we're aware of now is religion. We have to take into account the evolution of religion, and that religion 10 years from now is not going to be what it is. Lil Dicky said it perfectly in Paid for That at the end of the song, where he was a skit, but he thought it was very interesting as a Pisces of the Aqua Moon that it's so crazy that if you run for president and you're not really like Christian or religious, like you won't really get elected. But like we're entering a period where that's so antiquated. Like,
yeah.
And I think this Jupiter, Neptune at the end of Pisces is bringing closure to a lot of religious faith in light of scientific evidence that debunks a lot of myths. It won't debunk the faith of, like, there's certain occult...
Like aliens?
Something like that. Yeah. Like, yeah, there we go. You know what I'm saying? We're entering the period of disclosure. So, you know, like there's still there's the wisdom in these religions, but then there's a lot of the lies in that deceive people. And I think we're going to start to see the end of a lot of this religious narrative.
Well, religion for some time has been as successful as it's been because it's been controlling the masses. It's been keeping them in alignment. They're submissive. They don't ask questions. They behave. They follow a certain guideline. They donate to the churches or the temples, and you're good to go. When in reality, like, you know, church and state has gone hand in hand in a multitude of countries for a very long time. In a lot of countries, some are still very heavily affected and influenced by religion. But when that starts to kind of break down and we start to see with the tail end of Saturn and Aquarius that like more science is coming out, we're learning about other worlds and realms and other other planets, we start to realize that there's more going on there than what we thought. And we might start to see, I think with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, I think it's going to be the over the next few years, the end of organized religion. I think it's the end. It's with the last degrees of Pisces.
Down to tax benefits. I mean, there's still the nonprofit thing. So that's why
There's still cults. We can have cults.
Right. I can't wait to build my first cult. The cult of peace.
I mean, if it's tax deductible, fuck it. Like
the cult of peace. We'll call that, yes. Peace, love, and peace, harmony, and love for all of you. Unless you disagree with me. Then.
I mean, so what do you make of these planets squaring Neptune? So we're still seeing Mars in an extended square, so we know that's deception in the media and like manipulation. But what about Venus being the ruler of the North Node and Mercury being the ruler of the North Node square Neptune and Jupiter?
It's going to really heat up the conversation. So in order to appreciate this and in understanding astrological transits, by the time planets get to Sagittarius, to Pisces, which is the God Squad, the collectives, it has been building up a narrative since Aries. So to see it build up like this is like watching the water simmer in a pot, and we're coming to this peak level of the ascended perception of how everyone is talking and thinking about something. The only thing is we're mixing context because it's going to be around some event. And so with the opposition to Mars, what I see, remember when we had these planets before, Mars wasn't in Gemini with Jupiter back in Pisces. So, in light of individuals, powerful individuals who are fighting back these collective authorities, maybe this is just me wanting wishful thinking, but I think we're going to see some of the most major breakthroughs unexpectedly in independent people who may disagree with each other, going against these collective narratives, exposing more so the direction of where it's going and how we can circumvent that. But more so, I think this period are very high key, important conversations that really force the whole world to take a second look at everything that's been happening the past
I
years.
think that, Mercury is media, information. Venus can be about health and relations. The sun is going to shine a light on that. With the oppositions to Mars retrograde in Gemini and the squares to Neptune and Jupiter, I, for one, look at this and go, wow, the end of November through December is a time to really be watching international news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Independent news, right? News that's not going to be necessarily mainstream, and be seeing what's going on out in the world versus my immediate, Gemini. So I'm not going to watch local news. I don't really watch a lot of news anyway, but I'd be like, I'm going to see what's going on in other countries because I think maybe some of us are going to put the pieces together and start to see like, wow, we're seeing a lot of like the same shit in different countries, but it's not being broadcasted. Squares to Jupiter and Neptune. So we've said this before, like the revolution will not be broadcasted, but I think if you're branching out and you're seeking with Sag season this news, this information in other places, you might actually find that it's a worldwide conspiracy what's going on right now. And that's the squares to Jupiter and Neptune. Will it be something that's easily found? Probably not. Will it be something that everybody agrees with? Definitely not. Can there be some questionable things that are put out there? Yeah, but I mean, there's some of this stuff happening now, Like, did you know that there's like full-blown riots and like 1 million people that are protesting in Brazil right now because of the sway of the election and they're all protesting against it? I live under
a rock.
Okay,
well, but no, I didn't know that.
Very like Mercury, Sun, Sagittarius stuff. It's like, I didn't hear that was going on in Australia or Spain or whatever. And then you're like, wait, what? Then you start to realize like there's shit going on in other places in the world that is being clouded and hidden from you with the Neptune square, because if enough people look at the coincidences and start realizing what's going on locally and they put the pieces together and get the information in the media that it's happening across the globe, that's going to be a problem, because then you're going to have a lot of people being like, shit, they're doing this to everyone.
And the only reason why something like this can happen is because there's no Leo, there's no Virgo, there's no Libra, there's no Scorpio. We only have collective international broadcasts and individuals. So it's individuals looking at the news, but that socialization axis is what plugs it together. Instead, we have social distancing. So, it's an evil genius plot. It's working.
I can't wait for Neptune to go into Aries. And we're going to see like such an opportunity for like media to be on the ground, firsthand, independent journalism.
That's
and people
the new
who
media.
are there. Like, these people who have been making money and like doing their thing on YouTube, and like I follow a lot of journalists that left their mainstream, you know, news positions, and I support some of these journalists because I feel like that's the direction the world is going in, that the only way to break out of this collective psychosis is to say fuck the mainstream news and support people who are out there on the ground who are trying to bring the truth. And it's not about one narrative or the other. It's just being like,
everyone
this
too.
is not manipulated. I wasn't paid to say this. I wasn't given a script.
Unbiased.
We're not blasting a bunch of fucking, you know, like commercials for like a pharmaceutical company.
And that's what I like Aries, because I have Mars there. The reason why it's going to be so revolutionary and innovative is there's a professional polish that you see with news that enables the message and broadcast to be like a production.
Smooths it over,
Exactly.
and there's clean editing, and let's make it presentable for the family so we don't stroke fear. But like
Aries,
Neptune and Aries is gonna be like not clear footage. It's gonna be shaky,
recorded
handheld,
live,
recorded, live stream,
live
and
coverage.
there's shit blowing up, and they don't look good, but they're like, I was here first.
And now we have social media, so it's like an app where everyone can record news firsthand and upload it.
Which
and now we're seeing unbiased
so big
news.
since Uranus went into Aries. I mean, that was the birth of the selfie generation.
That's kind of what social media was until they started like censoring
until they censored stuff and they are now trying to sell you things. But I think that Neptune and Aries is going to be more about your perspective, what you're visually seeing.
I think I just created an app idea. I don't think it's an original idea, but if any of you want to make an app where individuals can submit news content, like I was here at this time, and that way it's not biased. You're not hearing a reporter tell you what they think. It's just, this is what happened. This is my bird's eye view.
It's going to come a long way because people can do that. You've got people out there who are so good at using green screens and manipulation and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I'm sure there will come a time that's like you have to update raw footage, and that's how it's going to have to happen.
Otherwise, we won't believe it.
Right. It's very much Mars, and it's very much Aries and Neptune. It's just like raw film, stuff that's unedited. It can't be polished because...
That means we're about to be revealed the biggest scam of all time. For people to believe that or think like that, that means we're about to be revealed a lot of broadcasts that were just edited, faked, to the point where we get to where if it's not raw, we don't believe it.
Okay, so am I the only one who thought it was weird that like Queen Elizabeth's last couple like hurrahs, like they had her in like this carriage supposedly, and the screen was changing in the carriage to like all of the different versions of her throughout history. And I remember looking at this being like, she's fucking dead. And she died like within a month. Wow. So part of me is thinking like... So
she was already dead.
I mean, come on. That's like Illuminati shit 101.
They
were like, shit's on fire. It's time to... The queen is dead.
I don't care if you're a skeptic or if you believe this or not. If a Scorpio queen says that they're dead,
people are gonna think I'm crazy.
They have
I thought
death
that for a while.
They have death sets.
Shit's been getting really crazy in the world, and obviously, like I've been paying attention to the headlines the last 6 months. It's like it seems like the beginning of the month, every month, there's a crisis, but it's also coinciding when there's like, you know, data drops from Pfizer, or we're seeing that there's more money being transferred to Ukraine, or they're passing legislation that's basically letting everybody know that your dollars are about to be completely worthless next year when they switch to a digital currency.
By the time information comes to us, right, they already know, which facilitates their ability to do all that.
Yep. So. I don't know. I mean, I think the oppositions with Mars is confrontational, but Mars retrograde is saying it's time to dial it back a little bit. Yeah. Be open to a different perspective, even though it sounds crazy. And like, listen, there are going to be some people who are totally fucking Looney Tunes at the dinner table during Thanksgiving. And my advice would just be like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I think some of these people aren't going to be as crazy when Saturn goes into Pisces and when planets go into Pisces in the spring. Yeah. Because we're going to see, oh my God, actually, like some of the things that we were like, you know, saying was a conspiracy is real. Boom, Saturn's in Pisces.
Yeah. And remember, we have to take into account, I don't think people yet understand the importance of Saturn and Pisces, because there's a lot of people who have had their breath held since 2020, regardless of what side or what you believe. There are people who have been wanting answers and to want to know the effects of what's been done. That is all of Saturn Pisces. Like the action was implemented 2020 with Saturn Cap. Saturn in Aqua was the response. Saturn Pisces is the solution. But the effects of everything cardinally done in Saturn Cap are all happening Pisces. Everything that you strengthened, Saturn and Aqua is all manifesting Saturn Pisces. So when I say everything Saturn is going to happen Pisces, everything is going to happen in tandem with Neptune. That's going to reveal everything. That's going to facilitate everything. That's going to bring this great Saturn change Pisces. So this is the main event. You thought 2020 was the main event. That was just the beta test. This is the main event coming up, my friends.
So what do you think about a full moon in Gemini conjunct Mars retrograde?
4 degrees away from my sun.
I've been looking at this moon being like, there it is. That's gonna be it. That's gonna be it.
And then we head into Capricorn on Pluto, then Sun, Saturn. Yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. I think
full moon conjunct Mars.
I'm waiting for a Gemini to say the most outrageous thing that is probably Trump or Kanye or some other Gemini. Like, we'll see.
You've got Mercury in Capricorn squared Jupiter.
Jesus.
So there's going to be some big words. And then during Sag season, we're going to see Jupiter getting ready to go back into Aries.
The only thing I'm worried about are big words said that have no meaning. Like they were just bluffs.
At least it's a trine to Saturn. I mean, I will say that. There's a trine to Saturn, which is helpful. It's not quite in a square to Neptune. It's close, but it's not close enough.
The trine to Saturn will stabilize it so much so that what's being said, there's at least some knowledge behind it.
Saturn seems to like either be the one that's in control or like the adult in the room, because all Sag season we see sextiles to Saturn, and then in this full moon we see trines to Saturn.
It's just in Aquarius, it's the evil genius, so it's going to help you, and then you realize it was finessing you the whole time. But
yeah, the same way Saturn in Aquarius the last 2 years has been like, you know, we're doing this for you. It's to help you. We're all in this together.
But
it's
just
like,
give us amnesty though. Yep, that's masterful right there.
So that full moon is pretty gnarly. The sun is in opposition to Mars, so that's like a needing to take action type vibe.
And Saturn's ingress into the third decan subruled by Venus is going to be super significant in that it's polishing all the construction done.
Sun square Neptune on the 13th of December. And the moon's in Leo, so issues with clarity. At least we've got Mercury and Venus in Cap, so there's some stuff that's kind of stabilizing. But you at the tail end of the Sag season, you're going to see like Mercury and Venus coming into a trine with the North Node, which I feel like is a little bit more so stable. But the Sun square Neptune, I'm also looking at Jupiter coming back into Aries. It looks like it's going to happen right at the tail end. So towards the tail of Sag season, Sun coming into a square with Jupiter in Pisces, and then boom, 29 degrees. So look at this, 29 degrees Sag Sun. It'll be a 29 degrees Jupiter in Pisces, and then Jupiter goes into Aries right at the end of Sag season. So that 0 degrees of Aries is quite potent. And by then, we also have Mercury that is in shadow. So it's getting ready to retrograde, right conjunct Pluto and Venus. I feel, and we'll do a video on this because we like to talk to you guys about the solstices and the equinoxes, but for that to be a winter solstice chart, to see the sun at 0 degrees and Jupiter at 0 degrees, I feel like we saw that didn't we see that during summer solstice, or was it fall equinox? We saw sun square Jupiter.
Fall equinox. Okay. It was the opposition.
So lots of squares and oppositions to Jupiter. Yeah. So things are definitely pretty big.
That square, I think, is the square. That's the boop.
Yeah.
0 Cap, 0 Aries. Like it's moved. Like everything was in preparation to boom. I don't know exactly what that might be yet, but it's given boom. That's all I'm gonna say. It's given.
I just feel like Sag season is just like chocked full of a lot of this is what we should be doing. This is the information. This is the facts. Don't you see it? Don't you see it? Lots of preaching, but stuff's gonna get kind of swept under the rug. And I believe that some of the people who are saying this stuff, right when we get to Pisces season next year, when the ingresses are happening, like with Saturn, we're gonna realize like, oh shit, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
You know, and then it'll be too late.
Well, okay, and that's what I wanted to highlight. Everything's going to just accelerate so fast. It is too late. It may not be too late for you, because the whole theme about this is less about what you have and what you can do. It's all about adaptation. Can you adapt? Can you adapt?
Well, what has Saturn taught us in Aquarius the last 2 years? You know, that we're separate, that we're isolated, that we can't necessarily physically come together, but we're plugged into a computer. When Saturn goes into Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, so it is about isolation, you know, spiritual isolation, energetic isolation, and the sign of Venus's exaltation. Does separation become the new normal? Does isolation become the new normal? You know, do we find that there is a sense of acknowledging or accepting, like, this is just the way that it is, and we're meant to just kind of feel numb and kind of disconnected or, you know, heavily medicated? I mean, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. But, you know, Sag season in general, it starts off great. But with the oppositions to Mars, there's challenges, and the squares to Neptune, some of the things that come up are gonna be dismissed, I think. Unfortunately.
What a Sag season. I'm looking forward to it, though. So that makes me look more at the significance of the Scorpio season that sets this up. In order to really appreciate Sag, you need to really embrace what Scorpio season is revealing and unlocking for you. Because that Sag is going to bring all that to light.
And also, even though it will be Sag season and there's a ton of personal planets going through Sag, don't discredit both Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. Because that's the focal point of this square. So it's like, where's my intuition telling me something's off? I had a dream about this thing. That seems shady. Like, even though it might seem a little paranoid, there's a sense of, like, spirit having your back in the midst of that process. And
When
you
it's
might
the
have,
darkest.
an intuitive hit or something that something may not be what it seems.
In fact, in light of that, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini is activation. Cancer, Leo, and Virgo is integration. And whereas Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are completion, we have Libra, Scorpio, and Sag, which is breakthrough.
Yeah.
Balance, transformation, and ascension is going to, with this square, finally have you take what you've been intuiting since Pisces and Gemini and something that was unseen. Those of you who are following intuitions that were unseen, that trine with Jupiter to Scorpio and a square with Sagittarius breaks you through in your ability to start to see greater evidence of this in all sorts of forms. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that it can be a good opportunity for a lot of people to kind of basically be like, I'm not buying into a narrative.
Yeah.
I'm not willingly going to just get scared into not saying something, or I'm not just going to be dismissed.
In fact, wait. I love that, because today I saw just that. I saw this one post that was like, Marlon Wayans says he's not going to let cancel culture control him and say, I'm not listening to the new generation. So I can see that being more the norm.
Hello, you know? Jupiter and Neptune. Like, a lot of people don't realize that comedians, Jupiter getting canceled, right? People who are on networks getting canceled, disappearing, being removed. I mean, whether it's the vaccines or it's something that you're speaking out about, we've seen over the last 2 years that people can basically be erased by taking away their profile or taking away their public platform, and that's removing their visibility, so there in turn they don't exist.
Yeah.
But people need to realize the North Node is in Taurus. So I know that, you know, whether you're an influencer or you have a public presence or whatever, that's important. But is it important? The fact that people see your videos, is it important? Or is it more important that you're doing work in the physical world, showing up physically, making change, and finding ways to kind of connect with people one-on-one? I think we're going to be moving away from this, and the more that people start to kind of get canceled because of the things they're saying on the internet, it's just incentivizing with the North Node in Taurus to be like, we're going to meet in person. You know, we're going to meet in person. We're going to start having in-person kind of meetups and things like that, where people are still going to say what they have to say. Very revolutionary energy, and really going against the mainstream narrative that's like, we can shut you down, we can make you disappear, we can shun you because you have different beliefs than the mainstream narrative. So I like it.
Beautiful.
Let us know, where is Sag in your chart? Is it your birthday? If it is, happy birthday to those of you guys who are Sagittarians.
Shout out to Jessica, level 3 member.
Thank you so much for your support.
Would you like to get like her?
Gotta join level 3.
What's up?
Gotta mark it. It's Sag season. We gotta mark it. We're getting up there, though. We're getting up there. I know we're getting ready to hit 100 episodes pretty soon. Pretty crazy. We've been on the interweb now for 2 years almost doing the Midheaven podcast. We've got some holiday stuff we're working out for you guys. We want to say big thank you to all of you guys who support the channel, whether you come through for the lives or you send us nice bottles of alcohol, or you are one of our members.
You guys are the best.
Even if you're just liking and sharing with your friends, we really appreciate it. We read all of your guys' comments. It's amazing to see so many people participate in the live chats when we do readings, and also just leave comments on the videos. It's nice to know we're not the only weirdos out there on the internet. Big thank you to you guys, and we hope you enjoy Sag season, and we will see all of you very soon.
And who knows? Maybe by the next time you see us, we've gone viral.
I mean, it's coming. Saturn's up on my north node right
Might
now.
be bougie. We'll remember you day ones. We'll remember all you. But, you know, you might see me with a fur coat, you know, just like...
Yeah, you need a fur coat.
I do, actually.
You need a fur coat. Everybody needs a fur coat.
I'm going to get a fur coat now. There we go. There you go. That's it.
All right, guys. You enjoy Sag season. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Boom.